With the Mafia games getting remastered, and after getting the remaster of Mafia 2 for free, I decided to go through the game for another playthrough with all the updated graphics. Also, I need to review a game that doesn't start with D or I'll trap myself in a niche trope. You play as Vito Scaletta, whose father moved to America, where he worked a shit warehouse job and fucking died. Vito met his best friend Joe Barbaro in school, who was in a similar situation, and after his dad died, Vito had to make money somehow, so he'd steal shit with Joe, until he was caught by police and arrested. But rather than going to prison, he was drafted into World War II, where he contracts a brain parasite that lets some sad, lonely person in the future control his actions through a futuristic machine beyond his comprehension from this point on. You engage in third-person Wolfenstein if Germans were Italians, and almost get killed, until the man gives the fascists an offer they can't refuse. Vito returns to America, where he discovers Joe has been at work with those kinds of Italians, thrusts Vito into the world of organized crime. Mafia 2 borrows a lot of its gameplay from games such as Grand Theft Auto. In fact, it's basically a 1940s GTA. You drive around a fully realized city to your objective, where a cutscene plays out, and you inevitably get in a shootout and manage to heal bullet wounds with a nice ham and cheese sandwich and a Coca-Cola. You have a cover system with which you can use one of 4 types of weapons: a pistol, machine gun, rifle, or some good old explosives. You can also use your fists, but that isn't going to do much when the fucker has a shotgun. If there's a meta, it's machine guns. Even if you don't kill somebody, hitting them can stop them firing, just to get another shot off, and so on. Machine guns are practically guaranteed to kill someone once you hit them. The gunplay is very cinematic. Missions will usually have some set piece going on while shooting, like a fish tank getting reduced to atoms by machine guns, or a Molotov thrown previously starts burning the warehouse down when you're leaving. So they never really feel bland, and a lot is done to make arenas feel unique, using different types of cover that may or may not be destructible, as well as changing elevation. So 2 fights never really feel similar, because there's always something going on in the scene, or you have some sort of advantage or disadvantage on your opponent. The driving is less arcadey than in GTA games, where in them you can go a million fucking miles a fucking hour past a cop and you won't do so much as bat an eye. In Mafia 2, there's a mechanic where you actually have to watch your speed and abide by the speed limit. You even have a handy little function to limit your speed. If you do speed, you'll sometimes attract the attention of a passing police officer who will attempt to write you a ticket at first, but if things escalate, he may try to arrest you, and if things get really bad, they'll start breaking out the firearms. The police will also sometimes note down your license plate and will tell fellow officers at the speed of light what to look for, and they of course have a photographic memory, resulting in you needing to get a new license for your car. I noticed it was really rare to get the police chasing me. I'd drive by way over the speed limit past an officer and he won't care. I guess they'll only care if they have something to gain from it. If you are being chased by the police, it's really easy to lose them. I'd managed to lose the police after going down like 2 or 3 streets, since the police don't do much in the way of giving chase. They'll usually slow down for some reason, unlike in games like GTA, but the police will actually follow you into the fucking ocean. In fact, the only times the police would really note down my license plate or my clothing was when it happened as a result of the story. So if you do get in a shootout with police, it is rare for them to get any of your details, so losing them is really the only thing you have to worry about. The AI for the drivers, on the other hand, let's just say they sometimes imitate real life in quite annoying ways. I saw a traffic jam caused by every single driver at the front of every fucking intersection have a seizure at the same time, which resulted in them losing their vision, and so everyone just sat there asleep at their horns. There was also another dude who wanted to test if these concrete barriers are destructible, not once, but twice. While Mafia 2 is an open world game, there's not much reason to explore it. GTA makes use of the open world by making the player have to get to the start of a mission, or by having lots of activities for the player to partake in. While Mafia 2 starts you off in a mission from the start of the day, it's a linear story in an open world. You can go out and explore, but there's no real reason to outside of a mission in which you have to get a bunch of money, and even then, you probably aren't going to leave one island because it has a literal money machine. You end up with areas you vaguely remember? Mostly after memorable missions occur, but not much else. You aren't going to have much reason to visit a certain park, because there's nothing there but memories from a past mission and maybe finding the collectibles. This isn't necessarily bad. I'd much rather the solid linear story here than the passable one after the writers had to write a bunch of side missions the player can go on in the world, or worse looking game because the artists had to make a shit ton of assets for every different fucking store. There's duplicate stores, but it's not too bad. Mafia 2 also clearly takes inspiration from prominent films like The Godfather and Goodfellas, and there's even an entire chapter that was clearly inspired by The Shawshank Redemption, complete with a gang of gay dudes. It's a very cinematic game. Vito's life flies at a fucking million miles a minute, going from burying a body to driving a truck full of cigarettes in the span of a few hours. The pacing is very fast, with major events occurring within the day after the last. There are a few moments where the story slows down and time passes in the story, but a lot of things happen in a small span of time. I'd prefer if the story was more slow paced, not necessarily the gameplay, but if there were larger jumps in time between events, it'd help the story feel more complete. The story of Mafia 2 felt like a chapter of Vito's life, which makes sense within the context of Mafia 3, where he returns as a side character, but Mafia 3 also doesn't exist. So that's that. The original Mafia 2 was a cult classic with overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, but this definitive edition has mixed reviews. What's wrong? No physics? 2K watermark for not logging in? What are they talking about? There is physics. You can see Vito's coat move when his legs hit it. I don't know what to tell you. And yeah, there's this annoying 2K login screen when the game starts up, but you just fucking hit cancel and it goes away. At least, that's how it used to be. When I started chapter 11, over 2/3 of the way through the game, it appeared. There's no reason I can think for it to take this long to appear. I took a break from playing the game, and when I returned, the watermark was there to greet me, and holy shit, I can see where these people are coming from. These really emotional scenes are ruined by this fucking watermark. It's hard to feel sad over a character's death when there's a fucking logo in the top corner of the screen, or if when you're in a timed mission, the fucking logo sits in front of the timer so you can't see how much time you have left. No one fucking cares about the shit service. This is the build-up for the finale, where everything is coming to a head, and I'm being harassed for not signing up for a fucking spam service. Then, it's gone.
Guess you hit the sauce pretty hard too, huh?
Yeah, I couldn't sleep either.
The next time I started the game up, I noticed there wasn't a logo. And I went through the finale without a fucking ad. What the fuck happened? So, I get why people are annoyed about the watermark. It'd be like if a feature film had a watermark in the fucking corner. And I managed to get through the majority of the game without this watermark that everyone has apparently had. And I don't get why. I did nothing to my game to get rid of the watermark. There were no updates. I just launched it and 20 minutes in, there was no watermark. There are a few kinks with this game. There was a dude that looked like his head exploded from the trauma of being tortured.
Think I don't know about the dope. I know where you got the money. Falcone thinks he's got a good racket going, but he ain't gonna get away with it. Come on, how'd you get it into the States?
I don't know anything. I'm just an accountant.
Don't fuck with me, you egghead bastard. You wanna end up just like your buddy here? Come on, take a good look. You think you're tougher than him? After we're done with you, we're gonna grind you up in one of these machines here. It's just a question of whether I'm gonna be nice enough to fucking kill you first.
Leo couldn't remember his lines for the scene, so he was just reading the script that was being held off camera for the entire scene.
You fucked up good, didn't you? Started a fucking war.
Got no idea what you're talking about.
Don't fuck with me, boy. I've probably forgotten more about this business than you'll ever learn.
And a few police officers forgot their cue to come out in a firefight. These bugs were far apart, but there was no excuse for a cutscene where a character's eyes just aren't looking in the right direction. Thankfully, the gameplay itself wasn't affected too much, apart from the officers camping the doorway, so while it took me out of the game, it didn't completely stop me from playing the game. Would I recommend Mafia 2? If you are looking for a story-driven shooter about mobsters that wears its mobster film influences on its sleeve, this game is perfect. The gunplay is nothing to write home about, but the story is good enough to capture you for a weekend. I got through the whole game in about 9 hours. Granted, this was my 4th or 5th playthrough, but there's nothing I really did with prior knowledge. I guess I wouldn't recommend the definitive edition because of the watermark and the other issues everyone has had with the game, other than me. If you do get the definitive edition, you also get the original with it, so if you do have problems, you can always get a graphics mod for the original, such as Old Time Reality, which I hear is pretty good. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a train wreck to play as I end my vacation from games that start with the letter D.
Hail, traveller!